Alright, welcome to today's lesson on planning conditions, where we're going to take a look at how what we know affects how we make our plans. So when we're planning, we have decisions that are made with a variety degree of information about the possible outcomes for that particular decision. So we can have something called a situation of certainty, where we know pretty much exactly what's going to happen in each of the possible outcomes. We have a situation of risk, where we have less known about the possible outcomes, and then we have a situation of uncertainty where we have even less known about those possible outcomes. So let's take a look at the situation of certainty. This is when we know exactly what's going to happen as a result of a particular decision we might make. It's very rare that you have this happening in a business situation because usually there's too many things that could happen that could cause that particular decision to change, or the effects of that decision to change. An example of a situation of certainty would be something like deciding whether we want to make our deliveries by air or by truck. Right? Either way, we would know how long it would take for the stuff to arrive, we would know what the general cost would be, and so on. So it makes it much more certain what's going to happen as a result of the decision that we make. The second type of situation was a situation of risk. This is when we have some partial information about the possible outcomes, how likely they are, or what the effects are going to be of those particular decisions. The probabilities of these outcomes are typically calculated by things like the past experience, what has happened historically to either your company or other companies similar to yours, historical data, surveys of customers or clients or employees, gives you an understanding of what might happen were you to make a certain decision. Examples of things that you might see for a situation of risk would be something like strategic risk, where you're trying to figure out what might happen with regards to a merger or an acquisition of another company. You might have financial risk, where you try to figure out what might happen as a result of resource allocation, how you're going to get all the supplies that you need, or what might happen with regards to a change in price. Um, Operational risk would be something like how technology or technological advance is going to affect your particular company, or the choices you're going to make in your production chain. And then finally, you might have a legal risk, which would be things like the threat of litigation against your company, or how your stakeholders are going to react to a variety of decisions that are made by your company. The final type of situation is a situation of uncertainty, and this is probably one of the more common types of situations you might have. This is when there's very little or no reliable information available on the possible outcomes. In this case, you might have one of a whole variety of outcomes that might happen without really knowing which one of those might happen or what the results would be. Or you might have a very rare situation where you have a truly ambiguous decision to make, where it's actually impossible to understand what those or know what the possible outcomes would be. So, for example, a political overthrow of a country is going to put things into massive disarray, and you're going to have no idea what might happen as a result of that. Okay, we're going to take a look at how to select a solution in a situation of uncertainty where we have several possible outcomes, but we're not sure which one to take because we don't know which one is actually going to happen. And when you do so, there's three different ways that you could make a decision. One is called the maxi-max approach, where you become optimistic about what you think is going to happen. So you make a solution that's going to optimize the best possible results were the best situation to be happening. You have a maxi-min approach, which is more of a pessimistic decision. So in this case, you're assuming the worst is going to happen. You're assuming worst case scenario, and you're going to try to make a decision that's going to limit the damage or make the best possible situation of that worst situation. And the third is called a risk averting approach. This is the selection of a solution that has the least amount of variance between the possible outcomes. So regardless of the best case scenario and the worst case scenario, you're going to put in a plan that has the least amount of deviation from the results that might happen. So you're not going to make as much profit as you could make in a best case scenario, but you're not going to lose as much money as you would lose in a worst case scenario. So let's take a look at an example of what this might look like. So this isn't really a business example, but let's take a look. We have a situation here where we're trying to decide what we should do based on the weather. Now, we could have rain and we might have no rain. This is a risk of a situation of uncertainty because we don't know whether it's going to rain or not. It's a 50% chance in the forecast. And the basic idea of what we could choose is we could either choose to take the umbrella or we could leave the umbrella at home. Okay, and based on the decision we make, a variety of outcomes could occur. So if we take the umbrella to work and there's no rain, we stay dry, but it's very inconvenient because we don't want to have to lug that umbrella around with us all the time. If we take the umbrella and it rains, we're dry and well, we're not wet. If we leave the umbrella at home and it doesn't rain, we're dry and we're also happy because we didn't take the umbrella with us. Ha ha ha, we win. And if we leave the umbrella at home and it rains, we are wet and that's probably not so great. So, in the Maxi-Max approach, what do you think we should do? Well, the best case scenario here is no rain. So the best possible situation in the best case scenario would be to leave the umbrella at home so that we can stay dry and happy. Okay? Maxi-Min approach, in this case we're assuming worst case scenario. In the worst case scenario we think it's going to rain, so we're going to try and make the best of that, so we're going to take the umbrella with us because the best case here would be to remain dry. The risk averting approach means that we're going to try and find the least amount of variation possible. So if we leave the umbrella, we would either be dry or wet. If we take the umbrella, we're either going to be dry or dry, but in one case we're a little bit inconvenient, in the other case we're not inconvenient. So the least difference there would be to take the umbrella, because no matter what happens, we're always going to be dry. All right, that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow where we can practice what we've learned.